Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. We're just setting up for today's event. If you've just joined us, we have about 30 seconds before starting the event right now. But we also want to point out that you're going to be meeting our founder, Steve Scott, today. And if you wish to, you can use Wordly in order to read along at the very same time if you are in the Zoom room live. So we are live streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, but the Wordly automatic translation is only operating here in the Zoom room. So with that in mind, come on to Neumi TV if you do want to follow along with Wordly translation at the very same time. Having said that, let me kick off the event. Michael Firth, founding field advisory board member with Neumi. It's my pleasure to introduce our founder in this call. Bit of background for those people who are on the call brand new for the first time. I knew Steve or met Steve 18 years ago when he was in the research space in the glutathione world, way before he had this amazing discovery of HydraStat you're going to hear about today. Steve, if you don't know his background, you've been touched by him on television in some way because Steve was behind the Total Gym with Christy Brinkley and Chuck Norris, selling billions on infomercials, and pretty much every Hollywood star you've ever seen promoting something was affiliated in some way with Steve from what I've seen on television. So with that in mind, we're going to get an up close and personal opportunity to get to know our founder, Steve Scott, as well as discover a bit more about the HydraStat breakthrough. So with that, I'm going to hand everyone to you, Steve. Take it away.
Thank you, Michael. And it's good to be with everybody tonight. And I hope you've got your friends and neighbors on the call. This is a call that we're doing now. We used to do it weekly. Right now, we're testing out doing it once a month. And it allows us freedom to do other calls in between this one. And so normally what we do, we'll do this call the third Thursday of every month. We do an 11 a.m. Mountain Time, which on Thursday, and then we do this one, which is 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So you can always check U.S. Mountain Time. And let's see, I'm seeing, oh, there we go.
Just
Michael, why don't you explain what that is and how to
use it? I
use
just remembered I had not done so. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick tip. If you look on the screen right now and you're on a laptop, let's say, or a computer, you could pull out your phone and scan the QR code in the screen here, and it'll allow you to read along with captions at the very same time in multiple languages. I will be posting in the chat during the event the same hyperlink, so you could use it there as well. But back to you, Steve.
Okay. So I have, let's see, where do I begin? I could begin at the beginning. I graduated from college many years ago, I think it's now is it over 60 years, over 50 years ago? Yeah, 55 years ago. I graduated from college in 1970 with a business degree in marketing, and thought I was going to go out and change the world and be an advertising executive someday and making commercials and all sorts of stuff. But instead, I found failure. I flunked out of 9 jobs in my first 6 years after college, couldn't succeed no matter how hard I tried, and I tried really hard. Along the way, I had a wife and a couple of kids, and providing a roof over their head was very important. And no matter what I did, I just couldn't succeed. I was going in debt rather than growing in savings. And I was really frustrated. I lost 9 jobs in 6 years, my first 6 years out of college. And right after I lost my 5th job, a friend was visiting me from Chicago. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona at the time. And I just lost job number 5. And it's really embarrassing when you get fired, when you don't have a paycheck coming in the following week, and somehow you're supposed to pay the rent and buy the food and do all the things that we do. Oops, somebody's coming into my office. And it was very, what you need, Sean? Okay. Okay, thank you, sweetie. Anyway, that was my son, who also works here. I have a couple sons that work here. I wish I could employ my whole family here because it's such a delight to see them around in the workplace. Anyway, I couldn't succeed. So this friend of mine who was the wisest man I ever knew, a guy named Gary Smalley, was visiting me from Chicago, and I just lost job number 5. And I was very discouraged. I was 26 years old. And I said, Gary, I don't understand it. I'm not stupid. I have a good IQ. I'm not lazy. I'm first in, last out at every job I work for. And some of those were major corporations with thousands of employees. And I'd be the first person other than security to come through that door. And I'd be the very last person to leave usually. So I get there usually around 7:30 and 8:30. And depending on what day of the week it was, because I also worked weekends sometimes. And then I would sometimes leave. Usually I'd leave. Everybody else quit at 5 and I keep going till 10, 10:30. That wasn't unusual at all. But I just couldn't succeed. And I said, I understand my craft, marketing. I understand consumer psychology and consumer behavior. And Gary said, let me pray about it. Now that's pretty smart. That's wise. When somebody asks you a tough question, don't just give them the answer right that's on top of mind, but go back and really think it through. So he came back in the next morning and we were in the kitchen of this little tiny house. And he said, I've got the answer. I said, really? He said, how would you like to be wiser than all your bosses? And I literally said, yeah, right. And he said, no, there's something you can do that if you do it for 2 years, in 2 years, you'll be wiser than all your bosses. And in 5 years, you'll probably be a millionaire. Well, that really made me laugh because I was so broke, I didn't have money for groceries. The only reason we ate breakfast that day is 2 women in a Bible study I taught had left groceries on the front doorstep anonymously. It took me 30 years to find out who they were. But I said, okay, what do I do? And listen to this. It's crazy. He said there are 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs in the Bible, and there are 31 days of the month. So every day, read the chapter that corresponds to that day. So today, for example, here in the US, it's still December 18th. So I would go to the 18th chapter of Proverbs and read it. And then I would write down, he said, write down any insights, wisdom you gain. He said, always have a pencil and paper handy. He said, do that for 2 years. It'll take you through the book of Proverbs 24 times. And he said, I promise you it'll change everything. So in the next 18 months, I went through Proverbs about 18 times. I went through jobs 6, 7, and 8 in that same 18 months and started on job 9. And I had found 15 or 16 strategies in the book of Proverbs that just blew my mind. So on job number 9, I started applying those strategies and I doubled that company's sales from $30 million to $60 million in the 4 months I worked there. I worked there a total of 4 months, let's see, January, February, March, April. And when I quit, I was only 27, but they wanted me to stay. They offered to make me vice president of marketing, double my salary, give me a company Mercedes if I would stay. But I didn't want to stay because I had a chance to start my own business. And I started a little business with a partner. He had $5,000. I had a vision. We put them together, and in 5 months, our sales in 1976 hit $1 million a week. $1 million a week. That's when cars were costing $15,000. New homes were costing about $100,000 or less. My home only cost $29,000. So it was a much different scale, but $1 million a week was a lot of money back then. And Gary was wrong. I didn't become a millionaire in 5 years. I became a millionaire in 2.5 years. And by the third year, I was a multimillionaire. So what did I do? I had simply found these incredible strategies and turned the strategies into steps of action and took those steps of action on every project that I was working on and created, literally, it ultimately created billions of dollars in sales for the company that we own, for the little company called American Telecast. Well, what was the cornerstone of our success? It was finding breakthrough products, products that could do something that nothing else in the world could do as effectively or efficiently or economically, so that they would be a true breakthrough, revolutionary. And that's exactly what we would do. We'd find a breakthrough product, buy the marketing rights to it. Then I would contract with the celebrity to be the spokesperson. I ended up with 93 celebrities under contract, and they were big names, Grammy Award winners, Academy Award winners. Man, I had Moses and Charlton Heston, but he played Moses in the Ten Commandments, and Ben-Hur, two-time Academy Award winner. He was one of my spokespersons. I had Tom Selleck, Michael Landon, Kenny Rogers, Cher, Jane Fonda, just amazing people put together, and we built this huge company. Well, along the way, in 2006, an investment banker introduced me to a medical doctor who was also a brilliant researcher and who told me about a product he had. And it was a nutritional formula that increased the body's production of this molecule I had never heard of called glutathione. And I didn't believe in supplements at the time. I thought all they did is turn light yellow urine into bright yellow urine, and why pay for that? But this guy showed me some clinical studies that really blew me away. So we bought the rights, and my company didn't buy the rights. They don't believe in supplements. They didn't believe in supplements. But I personally funded the company. I put $1 million in, and we started a company to sell that particular formula and did pretty good. But I never managed that company. I wasn't in the management team. And we separated years later, a few years later. And I started working with another scientist on coming up with a way to actually deliver not a precursor like that product did, but the glutathione molecule. Now, that's really hard, and maybe you don't know much about glutathione, and I'll tell you something about it in the next few minutes. But glutathione, it turns out, is your body's miracle molecule. It's amazing. It's manufactured by every cell in your body. And you didn't realize it, but in your body, you have more than 37 trillion glutathione manufacturing factories. And so what is glutathione? There's no life on Earth without it. It's a molecule that's so important that there's no human life without it. There's no plant life without it. There's no fish, birds, trees, anything. All life on Earth disappears without that molecule. And it is what it does is no less amazing than how we got it. Glutathione is 3 peptides that come into your body separately, or your body harvests separately. One is called glycine. Glutamic acid is the second one, and cysteine is the third one. And through a 100-step electrochemical process, your cells sew those together into a single molecule. And that molecule is called glutathione. And it is the primary defense molecule that protects your cells, protects your mitochondrial DNA, protects your immune system. It is the first line of defense for every cell, tissue, organ, muscle, joint, ligament, everything. It's first, but you'll start to understand this in just a couple minutes. But the problem with glutathione, as you'll find, is that it declines, your body's production level declines as we age, starting at the age of 20. And it declines by about 8 to 15% per decade. Now, I'm 77. So at 77, my body makes 65% less glutathione than it did at the age of 20. Well, as it produces less, the need for glutathione as a defensive molecule increases. So it opens up this huge deficit. And that deficit results in almost every major disease you can think of: cancer, heart disease, neurological diseases, kidney diseases, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, on and on. 78 disease classes form because of declining glutathione levels and increasing what we call oxidative stress. And we'll tell you about that. I'm going to turn my phone off because I have tiny little earpieces. And if it rings like it did in my earlier call, then it's ringing while I'm talking, and it's quite distracting to me. But anyway, so what are some of the things glutathione does? And then we'll get into what our breakthrough is, because it is the biggest breakthrough of my lifetime. I've had breakthroughs that have changed millions and millions and millions of lives. Millions of kids got into college that wouldn't have gotten into college without one of my products. Millions of college students graduated and went on to graduate school would have never made it without this product that we developed. So we always had these breakthrough products. I owned 5 different cosmetic companies that had great skin care, hair care, makeup products. We had fitness and weight loss companies. I mean, God just really blessed it beyond anything I ever imagined. I hoped for success, but I never thought I'd have any until I went through this exercise with Proverbs. Okay, so what does glutathione do? Well, let's start at the very beginning. Of the 400 functions, we're only going to look at 3 or 4 of them. One is, without glutathione, there's no oxygen transfer. You take that nice deep breath. It feels so good to breathe it in. It gets into the lining of your lungs, and then it gets into the capillaries in your bloodstream. And then those capillaries, it is basically carried to every cell in your body. It's carried to every cell in the body by the hemoglobin. Well, the hemoglobin has iron molecules, and those iron molecules carry one of 2 charges, either a +3 or a +2. The ones that carry +3, they cannot connect to oxygen. So you got oxygen here, you have the hemoglobin molecule here, and they will not connect, okay, because of that, the wrong polarity or the wrong charge. So the iron molecules have to be reduced to a +2. When that reduction takes place, boom, the hemoglobin can bind to the oxygen molecule and deliver it throughout the body. Glutathione is the one and only agent that can, reducing agent that can reduce that +3 charge to a +2. Without that reduction, we're all dead very quickly. Everything gets our oxygen starved. Our heart and brain die very quickly, and then we follow every tissue, every organ. So that's just one thing it does. It makes it possible for hemoglobin to carry oxygen. Pretty important. What else does it do? Well, we've all learned in the pandemic the importance of our immune system. People with real robust immune systems may have gotten sick, but they didn't die. People with compromised or suppressed immune system, they got real sick and may have died and may have long-term consequences if they didn't die, if they survived. About 25% of the people that went through COVID that got it had long-term residual effects, brain fog, and other things. So what was the difference? The difference was the virus was the same virus. If you got infected by that virus, your infection was exactly the same as mine. Unfortunately, we don't have the same immune system. We have an immune system, but yours may be non-responsive. Mine may be very robust. Now, I got COVID 3 times. One time I was hospitalized, but I never went into the cytokine storm. What's a cytokine storm? The virus would lodge in the lining of the lungs and cause this tremendous waterfall cascade called the what's it called? I'll think of it in a minute. But basically, this inflammation took over the lining of the lungs. And that then becomes the host for pneumonia. That never happened with me. Why? Because my glutathione levels were high. If I'd had lower glutathione levels, oh, Michael, can you remember what I'm talking about? I've lost the word. I hate losing words.
Not the word. No, I know the concept, but not the word either.
Yeah, no, there's one word. They call it anybody that can think of it can raise their hand. First time in my life I've forgotten that term, by the way, and I've talked about it to hundreds of meetings and Zoom calls. The cascade. Okay. Anyway, I'll think of it later. So the people with high glutathione levels, they didn't develop that pneumonia, and it was the pneumonia that was killing everybody. Or some people get sick enough that they'd have congestive heart failure because they had other problems. And but our immune system was designed to protect us. How does it protect us? Whenever there's a bacterial or viral insult, uh, our immune system kicks into gear and produces two assassins. Primarily, the number one assassin is called the T cell. The other one is called the B cell. Now, these assassins attack the virus or the bacteria with the intent to kill it. And the bacteria or virus, once it gets into our body, begins to replicate, reproduce rapidly. Well, guess what? The T cells and B cells, if they want to counterattack those, they have to also reproduce rapidly. How fast your T cells and B cells reproduce in response to a viral or bacterial attack is entirely dependent upon your available glutathione. If you have high glutathione levels, no problem. Those T cells will end up reproducing rapidly, catch up to the host bacteria or virus, and kill it, and you'll be fine. You may get sick, but you won't stay sick, right? And how fast those T cells and B cells reproduce is entirely dependent upon available glutathione. If your glutathione levels are low, the bacteria or virus, in the case of COVID, the virus, it is reproducing rapidly. The T cells are reproducing slowly because you don't have enough glutathione for them to reproduce rapidly. And guess who wins? The virus. Okay, so glutathione is critical to our immune response. High glutathione levels, rapid response. Low glutathione levels, slower response. You know, I was on the phone just a few minutes ago with one of the number one firefighters, New York City firefighters on 9/11. And his unit got there after the collapse, and he stayed on duty for 48 consecutive hours in recovering, trying to save people. And guess what? He was breathing all of that stuff. And he ended up with the most catastrophic blood of a living person ever measured. It's now enshrined in a particular university. And as we were on the phone and he was hearing about what our product is doing, he wanted to get this to every firefighter in America, every firefighter in the world. And he's been on our product now for a number of weeks, and it just can't even believe how good he feels. So anyway, that's a side note. See, I talk to everybody about this. If you're on a plane next to me, you're going to hear about glutathione. If you're in church, as soon as they say the closing prayer and you happen to be close to me walking out, you're going to hear about what we have. It's that big a breakthrough. When something changes your life, you can't stop talking about it. And so anyway, glutathione protects the immune system. What else does it do? It is the sole protector of the mitochondrial DNA. Why is that important? When the mitochondrial DNA breaks, the cell is now at high risk of mutating and multiplying, better known as cancer. So we want to preserve the integrity of the mitochondrial DNA as long as possible. Glutathione is the sole protector of your mitochondrial DNA. How does it do that? It is your body, your cells' primary detoxifier. Everybody on this call, all of you, have at least 200 industrial chemicals in your body right now that don't belong there. You get it through the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, and you end up with these industrial chemicals. Now, we say 200 because the testing that established that number, it actually established 217. They only tested for 217. They wanted to see, they took a universe of 2,000 people, what percentage of how much of these toxic chemicals do they carry? Do they carry 50 of them? 25, 75? No, they tested for 217 and all 2,000 people had all 217 of these chemicals. If there's 80,000 in the environment. So if they had tested for 300, they probably would have had, everybody had at least 300. Well, glutathione is your detoxifier of your cell. It has this real sticky sulfhydryl arm that is like fly paper or those sticky mouse traps, spider traps. And so it sticks onto the chemical and gets it out of the cell. Pretty cool. Why is that so important? Because it's that chemical load in the cell that breaks the mitochondrial DNA. So glutathione protects the DNA by lowering the chemical load in the cell. Amazing, right? See, it's a miracle molecule, and it's not easily made. That's one of the incredible things that show what a great God we have. For those of you that may be atheists on the call, I feel sorry for you. I was an atheist once, and the Bible says the fool has said in their heart, I was a fool. There is no God. Man, you start looking at the cell. Do you know every cell in your body is more complex with more integrated systems than the most complex machinery ever built by mankind, which was the Saturn V rocket? Uh, you are a miracle. You are trillions of miracles. When you hear how many cells do you have, it'll say between 37 and 50 trillion. Then if it counts the bacteria, the good bacteria in your gut that you need to survive, it takes it all the way up to over 100 million. But the real, as far as you, what's really you, 37 and a half to 50 trillion cells. And they all make glutathione. Problem, as time goes on, they make less and less. And so it creates a deficit. Glutathione is best known for its antioxidant value. What does that mean? Well, Michael, let's show them what 20,000 looks like. Every cell in your body is attacked by 20,000 free radicals every day. So we're going to show you what 20,000 looks like.
Unprepared for that, Steve. Give me a minute. Keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. And in 5 days, those same cells are attacked by a total of 100,000. Now, there are some studies that say, wait a minute, you're missing this free radical and this free radical. That says if you count them all, it can be as high as 1 million attackers for every single cell in your body. So it's that cell, but let's use the lower number. Let's use 20,000. That's what 20,000 people looks like. So if you're a person on the floor of that arena, and all those people were paid to attack you, you probably wouldn't get out of there alive, okay? But in 5 days, you'd be facing, and here comes this next picture, you'd be facing 100,000 attackers against you. See, well, that's what your cells go through every single day. And you think, well, they don't have a chance. Well, they do have a chance. Why? Because your body makes glutathione. Glutathione is your master antioxidant. Your body also makes CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, but we also bring in outside antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10 is an antioxidant, superoxide dismutase. There's a ridiculous thing going around. Oh, it's ridiculous. I got asked about it by one of our dear associates in Canada, and it shows this lady saying, you know, you think you're doing your body great with all these antioxidants. They can backfire on you. If you're in a disease state, they can actually fuel the disease. Oh my gosh. There's one particular scientist that has one particular study that she's thinking of. And that, yes, it's true if the context is that those cells already have adequate supplies. If you have all the vitamin C you need, you don't need more. And it might help a disease state. That's a theory. It's not proven. There are 198,000 published studies, medical studies, scientific studies on glutathione. It's the most studied molecule in medical science. Let's see, I have one study that I was looking at today. It was unbelievable. I don't have it now. I thought I had it in front of me. But it's one of the latest studies, and it's talking about glutathione's incredible. And this was from the National Institutes of Health, brilliant study. And it showed that most disease states, as we've seen in other studies, result because of lower levels of glutathione. Glutathione declines, needs for glutathione increase, big deficit, that creates a disease state. And guess what? It also not only fuels the onset of those diseases, it fuels the progression of diseases. One of America's great heart surgeons, in fact, he's now the #2 man in our health department, but he was a Harvard heart surgeon, brilliant surgeon, named Mehmet Oz. He did an entire television show one time just on glutathione. And here's how he opened it with this statement. He said, glutathione, it's the most important antioxidant you've never heard of. It's what helps protect you from the diseases you fear most. What diseases? Cancer, neurological disorders, diabetes, any kind of, all of your autoimmune disorders, anything driven by inflammation, which is just about every disease state, becomes a greater threat and progresses at a faster rate because of declining glutathione levels. And it was an amazing study. Next time I do this, the next time I'm here on a Thursday, I will actually give a link to this study. It was awesome. And if all you read was the conclusion of this, I think it's about a 20-page study. Just read the conclusion. You don't have to read the whole study, and it'll blow your mind. So what happened? Well, I haven't talked about the antioxidant yet. So how does an antioxidant work? You're attacked by the free radical. They want to steal a free electron from the cell. When they do that, that causes a reaction called oxidative stress, or ROS. And oxidative stress is not good. It produces more free radicals, but it also produces inflammation in the cell. And inflammation is the cell's mortal enemy. What else does it do? It accelerates the aging of the cells. And when you accelerate the aging of cells, you're accelerating the aging of tissues and organs and the person as a whole. So do you want to get older faster or stay younger longer? If your answer is stay younger longer, you have to combat oxidative stress. And glutathione is the nuclear bomb to oxidative stress. All the other antioxidants are like rifle bullets, okay, compared to a nuclear explosion. Big difference. Let me show you what I mean. There is a spectrum of free radicals. They have different sources. Some are sourced from the nitrogen in your body, some the hydrogen in your body, some the oxygen in your body. They have different chemical compositions and different structures. All antioxidants except glutathione are monofocus. That means they can sequester one type of free radical, but they leave all the others. So vitamin E takes out that one, but it leaves all these bad boys. Vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, they're all monofocused. Okay. Glutathione is called the master antioxidant for two reasons. Number one, it's the most prevalent antioxidant in your body. You've got more glutathione in your body than if you bought vitamin C and took it every single day the rest of your life at 50,000 milligrams. You would not have as much vitamin C in your body as you have glutathione. It is well, just think about it. Every cell is a factory, right? And you have 37 trillion cells. Now, the other reason it's called the master antioxidant because it can sequester and neutralize all free radicals, regardless of their structure, source, or chemical composition. Today, we have more free radicals to deal with, more types than ever before. For example, though, how many of you like having a cell phone? Well, the signal that that cell phone receives comes from a cellular tower. And 5G, for example, travels on microwaves, and those microwaves don't just get into your cell phone, they get into you. And when they come into you, they react with the nitrogen in your body and produce this terrible free radical called peroxynitrite. Peroxynitrite is really a bad boy. It lives 1 billion times longer than any oxygen-based free radical. And it attacks what? Your mitochondrial DNA. Remember, we want to protect that because when it breaks, the cell can mutate and multiply, right? Okay, so how do we protect the mitochondrial DNA? Well, it is the primary detoxifier of the cell, and that protects it, but it also takes out, it's the only antioxidant, glutathione, that can sequester and neutralize peroxynitrite. So there's no antioxidant that glutathione can't handle. Problem is, it's declining as we age. So let's all go out and buy glutathione capsules. You can buy them at any health food store. You can go online tonight and buy them right from from Amazon if you want. Problem is, glutathione is a very fragile molecule. When it gets into your digestive system, into your stomach, the stomach acid breaks it, and your cells won't accept a broken molecule. So to get around it, manufacturers, nutritional manufacturers have said, okay, let's protect that molecule through the stomach. So they wrap it in a liposome, a layer of lipids that are fat, right? They're either animal fat or vegetable fat, doesn't matter. And guess what happens? That makes the size much bigger. So you've got a tiny little cell that's only 100 nanometers, in diameter. One strand of your hair is 80,000 nanometers in diameter. A cell is only 100. The pores in the cells are only 10 nanometers in diameter. Well, when you take a molecule like glutathione that's right at 1 nanometer, it's between 0.8 and 1.2 nanometers. And guess what happens? You wrap it with the lipid, and now it's between 55 and 300 nanometers. Too big to get into the pore. So it sits on the cell, on the cellular membrane, and relies upon other energy forces to force it into the membrane itself. Now, once it's in the membrane, it needs to dissolve and get into the cell. That's all using up half-life. The half-life of glutathione averages 90 minutes. Depending on the cell, it ranges from 10 minutes all the way to 4 hours. But the average body-wide for the 37 trillion cells, the average half-life of glutathione is only 90 minutes. And you're wasting time, number one, wasting time in transit, but the real half-life counts when it starts to struggle to get into the mitochondria. Then it gets activated once it's in the cell. It's not an easy process. Kind of like trying to ride a bicycle uphill in high gear, right? You pedal real fast, you go real slow, and you may not have enough energy to make it. When you have the molecule wrapped with the liposome, it takes additional energy to push it in. So guess what happens? Your mitochondria produce ATP. The ATP is the energy source, the fuel, and they waste it on trying to make it possible for this little guy to get in here, to be forced in. Our particle size, we don't wrap it in fats. We wrap it in water envelopes. Now, that won't get it through the stomach, but we don't care. Why? Because ours is absorbed primarily in the mucosa, which is the lining of your cheeks inside and under your tongue in the venous cavity. So with ours, it's the viscosity of water. As we're swishing, it's absorbing into the bloodstream through the mucosa. Now, once it's in, it only takes one pass of circulation to empty into the cells because it's small enough to get right into those pores. Boom, doesn't need any other energy source. So this is called, when it goes directly into the pore, that's called passive diffusion. It needs no additional energy. When it's forced into the membrane, like a liposome, that's called active diffusion. Forced diffusion. It requires other forces to make it diffuse into the membrane. So ours gets into the cell very rapidly. We tell athletes, take it 5 minutes before a workout or an event and watch what happens. It's going to be great. So, and it is. So we developed this technology. We call it HydraStat, this delivery technology, back in 2018. And I knew if it really worked, it would really make an impact with athletes because human performance relies on glutathione and recovery, performance and recovery, and muscle development and lean muscle. Lean muscle is what you need if you're an athlete, and glutathione accelerates the production of lean muscle. So, Michael, let's show them an example. I sent it real quick to 3 athletes. The second one was this weightlifter guy. He was the strength and conditioning coach for one of America's premier professional football teams, the Seattle Seahawks. And he's been an amateur weightlifter his whole life. And I've known him for a long time. So I said, let's see if he can tell a difference. So I sent it to him. This is June of 2018. And Michael, let's show him what happened. Okay, let me give you background. When he was 49 years old, see that 804 there? That's how much weight he could bench press, and that broke a world record. It was 804 pounds. He was 49 years old, and the year was 2008, and he became the world record holder. Then I called him in 2018 about our product, and he's 59 years old, and look what had happened. He had lost lean muscle. His performance went down. He went from 804 down to 725 pound bench press. And I told him what would happen, and look what happened when he got on our product. That's what happened. Before he turned 60, his bench press went up to 915 pounds, a new world record. Oops. Then at 60, it went to 1,050 pounds, a new world record. At 62 in 2022, he bench pressed 1,129.8 pounds. That's 512 kilos for those of you on the metric system. It's the weight of a grand piano. If you go to a symphony concert and they got a piano on the stage, you'll see it's very long grand piano. He's lifting that. If you put the piano bench on top of it, that's 1,129 pounds, about, if it's a Steinway. Anyway, so he was blown away. I gave it to another athlete. She was blown away. Another athlete who was blown away. Everybody was going crazy on it. And this one athlete, she was a marathoner and a cyclist. And so she had a 100-mile bike race coming up, and she used it for that and was breaking all of her records. And then at mile 37, she got in an accident where her bike got airborne. She went upside down, hit the pavement so hard it broke her helmet, knocked her out, and her face was shredded because her face hit the pavement at about 23 miles an hour. She was hospitalized that Saturday. She woke up in the hospital. She was hospitalized Saturday, Sunday, Monday, came home Tuesday night. When I saw her picture, we were communicating the whole time. And on Saturday and Sunday, her face was horribly, road rash, scabs everywhere, cuts, abrasions. And the plastic surgeon had told her that was going to take 5 weeks to clear. And she got home on Tuesday night and thought, wow, maybe because this stuff is small molecule, maybe it will make my face heal faster. The plastic surgeon said it would take 5 weeks. It was completely clear and scar-free in 5 days of spraying her up, topically applying it. She actually applied it with a cotton ball. Since then, we've had a lot of people with accident faces that apply it with a spray, and it does the same thing. Accelerates the healing crazy fast. Well, when I saw the pictures before and after, I thought this may be the world's best skincare product. I had owned 5 different cosmetic companies, always had a skincare line. And what I didn't like about skincare, even if you had a great product that was healthy for the skin, you'd never see that much in a before and after. You'd have to really squint and look. You won't have to squint for these. So let's go. I sent them out to a small group of people, said, try it for 8 weeks, spray your face 5 times a day. So the first before and after came back in 7 weeks. This is Sherry, and she is one of our distributors now. We didn't have Neumi at the time. But when I saw that, I thought, oh my goodness, we do. Look how much brighter her face is, tighter, smoother, younger looking. And my former formulator became the head formulator for the company that created Botox. And when he saw this picture, he said, Steve, I hate to tell you, she's had a facelift. I can't explain why her face is brighter and smoother, but those rings, she had to have a facelift. I said, John, she's a farmer. She lives on the farm, works on a farm. No scalpel, no laser has ever touched her face. He said, then you've got something that nobody else has. I said, I know. And so we went ahead, and the before and afters we started getting were mind-boggling. So let's look at a few more just for fun. So I sprayed my right hand, but not my left hand, for about 12 weeks, 4 to 5 times a day. And you can obviously see the huge difference. Now, I was a lot younger then. I was 71. Today I'm 77. And soon to be 77 and a half. This lady's 80 years old, 84. Look at that. And that was in 4 weeks. So we asked her, how often did you spray? She said, I had bottles all over the house, and whenever I passed one, I sprayed. I said, so like 10 times a day? She says, oh, I don't know, but just I sprayed every time. And look at that, 4 weeks. That's just amazing. This is another 84-year-old. She's from Greece, and look at her leg. She said, I used to have old lady legs, now I have young lady legs. The people I was talking to today couldn't believe that. I mean, they were just blown away. This is a much younger person, but she owns a skincare salon in Miami, Florida. She sprayed her face and she said, I can't wait 8 weeks. Look what it did in 8 days. Lighter, brighter, tighter, smoother. Where did my pores go? And look how it opened up my eyes. She said, Steve, there's nothing in the world that does this. I said, I know. Next. This lady's 60 years old, and that was 1 month. That's pretty good. But look what happened in 6 months. She came to our office at the 6 month point, and we all thought she was in her 40s, probably 42, 43. Look how much brighter her face is, perfectly smooth. I mean, it's crazy. And look at her neck. It's just amazing. Next. There you see the before. This guy's 67. Lighter, brighter, tighter, smoother, younger looking. And that was in 6 weeks. That's pretty cool. Next. Next, we'll go through those. That's dehydration on that one. And we solved the problem. Okay, 10 days. This is a younger lady. She doesn't need much, but look at how it minimized her pores, how much smoother, and it evened out her skin tone, opened up her eyes, So that was very cool in 10 days. This lady's 80. She's the mother of the first picture we showed. And 80 years old. That was in 3 weeks, spraying 5 times a day. Next. This is a 65-year-old smoker. Look at the damage to her neck and right above her lips. And 8 weeks later, look at how much smoother everything is. Next. That was in 8 days. That's pretty amazing. I haven't seen one that good. This is in Nigeria. That was in 4 weeks. Next. This is sun damage in Australia, 6 weeks. Next. Now, this guy I really like. He's 94 years old. And I love what he said. He said, I like my new look, but more important, I love how I feel. I feel like the guy on the right instead of the guy on the left. And that's what we do. Next. This lady's in Hungary, and we loved when we were in Hungary seeing this picture. 7 weeks. I said, how often do you spray? She said, I did just what your first picture said. I sprayed 5 times a day for 7 weeks. Look at that. I mean, honestly, she took 20 years off her face. And I think that's it. Okay, that's an 85-year-old, 84-year-old man in Canada. Look at the difference in his hands. Okay, why do we show you that? And we're just about done. Number one, we have the world's best skincare, and we're proud of it. Number two, that same biochemical activity of glutathione that did that to the largest organ in your body, which is your skin, that same biochemical activity takes place in your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, all of your vital organs, your muscles, your ligaments. They all benefit the same. They all benefit from more glutathione. So we hope you'll try it. That was our first product. We now have a host of products, not a lot, but we have a neurotropic for your brain. A lot of people still have brain fog from COVID, or you get tired in the day. Maybe you're at work and you're not firing on all 8 cylinders. It's called Neuro. It's not in every country, but we're not far from getting it to every country. We have a woman's product called Hers. We have a hair product that's, the before and afters on that are crazy. But we keep our secret is using our HydraStat technology that we own. Nobody else in the world has it. And here, let me get that out my computer. And we are finding we can deliver a lot of different stuff right to your cells with this delivery process. That's the biggest breakthrough of my lifetime. And as a result, we're now in 75 countries. And I see a hand. Florence, are you trying to ask a question? Oh, okay, that's easier. We don't have a question and answer time. Thank you for being so patient. We'll be back in the third Thursday of January. We hope you'll join us. We'll be at 11 o'clock Mountain Time and at this time, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. And have a great weekend. Talk to the people that invited you to this call. And if you didn't invite anybody to any of these calls, the next call we have in January, be sure, because when people hear the science, I had a medical doctor today who's one of the top doctors in another part of the world. And this lady is connected to the president of the country and everything. And her mind was just blown. And one of her associates that she was with, they're developing all these hospitals they want it in every hospital. I mean, they were so excited by what they saw today. So I hope you'll join us. And if you want to earn extra income, I hope you'll become an associate, part of our Neumi family. So good night. God bless you, and have the best holiday season, the best Christmas, the best New Year's you've ever had. Let's make this next year the best year of your life so far. See you later.
Thank
Michael?
you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Now, as we wrap up, guys, a couple of important things to say. Number one, you're the first to hear this. I'm getting on a call immediately after this with Angel, who is our country manager of Indonesia, and she has told me that the NR, it's called their Neuro product, is on the ground, coming out of the truck as we speak and going into the warehouse. So all the Indonesians online, you're in for a very special Christmas present. And for those people who are online for the first time, please just let me show you. This is the official company Facebook group called Neumi New You. And if you go join that group, then you'll be able to watch lots of videos, see before and after photographs, which will literally blow your mind, which is a perfect follow-on from today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Merry Christmas. And the very first event for next year, just so we're clear, is 2 weeks from now, which is actually Members Night on the 7th. In fact, we may even have a presenter on the 6th as well. So we'll see you all then. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. We respect them all, and we'll look forward